All of those emotions that you're carrying with you, that you refuse to process because it's too hard, because it hurts too much, because it's not a convenient time, you need to relinquish. I was just sitting and thinking about the way that we move through this life, and I was thinking about car wrecks. It's a weird thing to think about, but hear me out on this. The people that get injured the most in car wrecks are the people that cling so tight and become so rigid that almost every part of their body shatters. It just breaks, right? When you encounter an experience that's traumatic, when you encounter a collision that's so abrupt, the people that make it out unscathed are people that are loose, people that are not clinging with all of their life, with all of their might, the people that are not so tensed up. It's the reason why children are able to escape those incidents oftentimes unharmed or with minimal harm. It's the reason why drunk people are able to have those experiences where they have minimal harm, because they're so loose. And for those people, it's because they don't necessarily have the response that we do, right? But the truth of the matter is, in our lives, all across the board, we are so tense. We're so tense because we're worried about money, we're worried about our families, we're worried about our jobs, we're worried about every single thing except for ourselves. We're worried about all the things that don't really matter in the grand scheme if we're not good on an individual level. And as a result, we have this tension that just builds and builds and builds. And we search for all of these ways to escape the stress and the worry, right? We reach for food, we reach for entertainment to distract us, we reach for drugs and alcohol, we reach for all of these different things, we reach for sex, all of these different things that distract us from actually addressing the worries and the fears and the doubts that we have in our lives. And all of that pent up tension creates this rigidness in our lives. And it's the reason why we're unable to process when something traumatic happens. It's the reason why we're unable to deal with the collisions of this life. The truth of the matter is, friends, you don't have to carry that worry, that fear. You don't have to carry all of that tension. You can release it in a multitude of different ways. You can release it by communicating with your partner, with your family, with members of your community, with licensed therapists, with psychologists. You can release it with your friends. There's so many places for you to communicate some of those feelings instead of clinging to those feelings, instead of pushing down those tensions and those worries so far that they create this stress shield that you wear. Because when you encounter trauma in this life, and I guarantee you that you will encounter trauma in this life, all of that baggage that you're carrying with you, no matter how repressed, no matter how far you think that you've shoved it down, it will surface. All of that weight will drag you down, mark my words. The only way to avoid that happening to you in this life is to process it. The only way for you to avoid that happening to you is to relinquish worry and stress, to relinquish its control over your life. And whether you acknowledge it or not, it is controlling your life. It is dictating your decisions. It's dictating your interactions. It's dictating the essence that you walk through this life with, the energy that you carry, and energy does matter. The way you step into a room matters. And when you're carrying so much stress, you're carrying so much baggage with you, that baggage enters the room before you even do. This is a season of encouragement and gratitude. And if what you're carrying doesn't fit in those two buckets, then you need to throw it out. All of those emotions that you're carrying with you, that you refuse to process because it's too hard, because it hurts too much, because it's not a convenient time, you need to relinquish. You need to abandon. You need to let go of them because they're weighing you down. And in those moments that you encounter adversity or challenges, all of that tension that you carry will be the thing that breaks you. Not just that breaks your body, but that breaks your spirit, that breaks your will, that breaks your very soul. If you aren't humble enough to hand it over, life is hard. Life is. There's no way around the fact that life is hard, but it's so much harder if you refuse to get out of your own way. If you refuse to just hand it over. It doesn't have to be as hard as you're making it. And when you encounter that adversity, when you encounter those great collisions in this life, you're able to be present if you're not carrying all that tension. If you're not weighed down with stress, you're able to be present in the moment and experience whatever you need to experience, that you might grow and evolve, that you might pivot, that you might develop into the person that you're called to be. And my friend, you are called to be somebody, something only you can be. You. Called to bring joy and compassion and love into the world, called to walk with peace, and called to carry gratitude and encouragement. I don't know what you're experiencing in this moment. I don't know what your trial is, but I know that you're called for more. I know that your existence is not supposed to be mundane. It's not supposed to be miserable. It's supposed to be filled with joy. It's supposed to be one that you can be fully present and fully engaged with, that you might be the best version of yourself for all of those that you encounter. And most of all, that you might be the best version of yourself for you. So what are you willing to do? What are you willing to shed in order to evolve into the best version of you? I don't know what it is, but I do know that you do.
These are your thoughts, dictator. This is the hope of God set free. These are your thoughts.